Thank you all for joining us. I'm Emery Morseberger, the founder of Helping Ukraine, and we have a lot to cover this morning. I appreciate you all being here. We've got folks from all along the war front in Ukraine, from Odessa in the south to Kharkiv up in the north, and a lot of things to cover. I wanted to start out by giving some quick background here. On our progress to date, if you will. And Brogan, I'm ready for action. Okay, basically, we began this effort in June of 2022 when I escorted a shipment of medical equipment to Ukraine. 37 pallets that were put together in Tucker and shipped primarily on a tractor trailer into Romania and then across the border into Western Ukraine. I carried a bunch of luggage with me that included these $12,000 surgical drills that allow this head surgeon in the main hospital in Kyiv to put back together arms and legs rather than amputating above or below the knee. We also have been working on getting a lot of supplies to the internally displaced people. These are folks that came from the area that Russia invaded on the eastern side. Here's the tractor trailer loaded coming across the border. This is one of our team members in northwest Romania. His name is Emil Soperin. Here's Ken Ward. Ken initiated a whole new wave of work with the churches along the war front, especially the Odessa First People's Church. And Ken basically coordinated delivery of thousands and thousands of very thick blankets in very cold weather, and then installation of fabrication and installation of wood burning stoves. Here we've got one of the Odessa First People's Church teams that was out installing the wood-burning stoves, distributing food and blankets in some very cold weather, and you can see the neighborhood. In addition to the stoves, blankets, and surgical equipment, we found there was also a need for generators to power hospitals. This is a hospital near Mykolaiv that we were using the generators to power different departments within the hospital, so that when the Russians blew up their power, they continued to function. You can't run a hospital without power. This is the basement of a community water system where we installed a generator to power water pumps to pump water for people to drink in those communities. We ended up installing about 65 different generators. We also put generators in for orphanages. Here we've got one of the orphans that we're helping along the front. And here's Ken with some of the folks he was helping as he was passing out blankets and food. Odessa First People's Church and the folks in Kryvyi Rih worked to create hope centers. And these were basically in the winter of 22 when people were in need of warmth and food. We set up 20 hope centers. Back up a step, Brogan. We set up 20 hope centers that serve people who were in these cities and needing all kinds of different supplies. And we also helped with different services for a lot of the kids along the war front. And you can see we're in action, and this is all being done by our partners. We provided the funding for these, and then Odessa First People's Church and others worked to set these centers up. And a lot of these centers use generators to power for when the Russians had blown up their power supply. Okay, here we've got John Daniel with Progenicare. John and his team, and we're joined by Bert Jones on the screen today, John actually went over with $3 million worth of medical supplies and trained 12 different hospital teams on how to use these supplies. Here he is in the hospital outside of Kyiv, and his work and the work of Progenicare has had a huge impact on a lot of people that were wounded in the battle, both civilians and soldiers. Here Ken's back at the war front, distributing potatoes, and that's our van in the background there. And in addition to potatoes, Ken was distributing seeds so that these folks could plant their spring gardens at the appropriate time. We delivered seeds and chicks so that people could get back to being self-sufficient. These folks do not like being dependent. They want to be on their own and producing their own food. Okay, here we've got a map of Ukraine, and you can see Odessa is a little bit covered up in the south, but that's the area that Odessa First People's Church is located, and they've got branches all up and down the war front. The red dots are the Russian divisions that were invading. The yellow lines, or the yellow sections there, are areas that the Russians had invaded and then were forced out. When the Russians were forced out, they usually blew up everything that they couldn't carry with them. So they were blowing up water systems and power systems, and our crews came in and right after the Russians pulled out and worked to set up generators and all kinds of other supplies so that the people could stay in place. The green dots with the tents on them are the Hope centers that we set up, and you can see they're pretty much all over the eastern side of Ukraine. They were designed to basically house the internally displaced persons that were forced out of the war zone. And that is still continuing and actually starting to heat up. You can see the blue dots with the surgical drill. Those are places where we've delivered surgical equipment all over Ukraine, all the way from the western part of the country in Lviv to the eastern part of the country in Zaporizhia. And we continue to work on that. And today we're going to hear about the current projects that Olga Gorman is coordinating along the war front. You might take a look at this map at the very top. There's a green dot up there. That's Kharkiv. And that is the neighborhood that Olga came from. Olga actually lived in Ukraine and was bombed out and is determined to continue helping all of the people in that war zone. And Ken Ward, our partner, basically described the situation and our goals as helping the people with the most need in the most dangerous places. And we're going to hear from people who are actually on site and doing that. Olga Gorman, the show is yours. And I just want to say one thing. Olga refuses to get paid. Olga's working on this 24/7, and I asked her if we could cover part of her expenses, and she basically said, no, I'm Ukrainian. And that was the end of that. Olga, it's yours.
I'm so glad to be here. And I'm from Donetsk region, which Russia occupied in 2014. And I moved to USA 2 years and a half. And I'm so grateful to American people in general for all your support you give us, and for our donors who help us to build future in Ukraine with our Ukrainian partners. And we support Natalia projects with daycare centers. This is like schools for kids in frontline because they can't go to school. They can stay together. And Natalia provides psychological support, food, and care for these kids. and she's helping families who just moved from the frontline zone. Natalia, say hello.
Hello.
And let me continue with Marina Serdichenko.
Short. Hello, everyone. My name is Marina. Me and my husband Dennis, we live in Odessa, Ukraine. It's the south part of Ukraine. We are here with 3 our kids, and we serve in Odessa People's Church and Good Samaritan Charity Foundation last 18 years. Also, I work last 9 years as a military frontline chaplain with families who has the militaries in their relatives, and with the kids who are there on the front line. Odessa is under a regular attack, and Russia starts to use cassette bombs, and the information, it's a lot of death, a lot of damages. And the population of Odessa is about 2 million people, and 500,000 people, it's a 500,000 around this number, is internally displaced people. And children suffered because of panic attacks more than everyone, more than adults. And we started to think how to bring these kids back their childhood and what we can do for them, because it's a huge difference between kids here from Odessa, from our region, and kids who came from occupied territory. We got this idea of the summer camps after we met a boy from Mariupol with his family who came to take a humanitarian aid in our charity foundation. And we made a goal just to bring this happiness to their eyes and to do what we can do for these kids. And it's about 100 kids for this summer. And we have a human resources, but unfortunately we don't have enough money resources, financial resources. And it's $5,000 for 100 kids for this summer. Also, we have a summer camp for traumatized kids with deep traumas. For example, I had a possibility to work with a boy who was tortured by Russian soldiers, unfortunately, and they raped his mom in front of him and they killed her afterward. And it was a big challenge for us to work with kids with these deep traumas, but we see the results, we see the fruits. The kids, they change, these camps, this time, this work changed their life, changed their eyes, and changed their situation in their families too, because a lot of these kids, they lost relatives, some of them, they lost their parents even, and they continue to live here in Ukraine, in their country, in their home country. And we know that taking care about these kids now, we take care about our future, because we know that these kids, they're the future of this country, and they're our future. We work on the front line in the villages and everywhere, because we know the needs there. It's very, very big humanitarian crisis there in everything. And we observe disaster in the educational system in Ukraine too, because it's a lot of schools, more than 400 schools completely damaged, completely destroyed, and around 1,700 schools are damaged. And the number is 900,000 kids are on their online education. So it's a big amount of kids who cannot go to their schools, cannot meet their friends, cannot socialize in that age, in their age. And we started a project with online educational support, which means to buy tablets for kids who cannot, who don't have any opportunity to have a laptop or tablets, in just to continue the simple thing, to continue their education. We found a good amount of tablets with a good price, and we hope to cover 100 kids with the $10,000 by this. We are more than happy to be a part of their families, to be a part of Ukraine, of our nation, of our of people around us. And we are more than happy that we have support in you. And just to understand that helping, serving us, supporting us, it means a lot for us. It means that we are not alone in our fighting. We are not alone, and it's not just me going frontline and serve these kids from Mariupol and Donbass. It's you going with me through your support. So we are very thankful for everything what you do. We are very thankful to be a part of it and to continue to work and to serve people and to serve each other. Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be a part of this Zoom meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Marina. Last year, we supported 2 kids camp, and they both were in Carpathia Mountain. And for one of this camp, we had interview with Fox 5 from Atlanta, journalist. And this journalist was so nice, and he sent his questions before interview kids. And kids were open, and everybody was so happy to speak with blackface guys from Atlanta. And at the end, he asked one question. Can I ask you guys how it's live under the war? And one girl, she is 11, and she's from Donetsk. Marina, do you remember this girl? She switched from English to, actually not to Ukrainian, to Russian. She switched to her native language, and she just mentioned, I don't know how to live without the war. Russia came to Donetsk when I was 1 year old. My parents
2014.
escaped. Yeah, well, my parents escaped to, do you remember in which city? Like in Kramatorsk, and now they are in
she's in
Odessa.
Kramatorsk.
And when you can see how kids after this camp started speak and started smile and communicate with everybody, it made us feel better. Thank you, Marina, for your great job. Let me introduce Vlas Shurupka and Roman Smirnov from Kherson region. These
Kharkiv.
two, oh, sorry, from Kharkiv region. These 2 guys help in the villages and small cities which were destroyed after Russia occupation. And people don't have water, don't have electricity. In some places, they are waiting for water delivery, sometimes 1 week. It's without drinking water. And we support 2 projects in Kharkiv region. You know, my family from Kharkiv region, I know the names of every village in this area. And I would love to give this stage to Vlas. Thank you, Vlas.
Hello, everyone. Kharkiv, I represent Kharkiv, the before war 2nd biggest city in Ukraine, with population about of 1.5 million people as of right now. Because of its close proximity to border with Russia, which is less than 40 miles, Kharkiv and its suburbs have been and still is at the front line of the conflict. Kamikaze Shahed drones, artillery and missile strikes, All this is the reality people here in Kharkiv are facing on a daily basis. And unfortunately, the number of these attacks significantly increased within the last 2 months. We don't know what exactly, but something affected the quality of groundwater, main source of drinking water for people living in suburbs of Kharkiv city, making it in some cases good only for technical use. Unfortunately, we have to fall back to essentials, thus is to cover the basic need for drinking water. Our foundation, Powering UA, in collaboration with Helping Ukraine.us, already completed one filtration station and working for completing the second one as we speak right now. The needed equipment is being ordered. On the picture, you see one that's been completed already. These efforts will cover the need for water of anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 people. Overall, the need is in 8 to 10 filtration stations in the area, with each costing on average $10,000. Globally, once the project Clean Water completed, the need, the filtration station will cover the need of about 13 to 21,000 people in the area. It will not only cover the basic necessity now, but also provide a long-lasting water supply resource for years to come. We agreed with the local governments that once the project is completed, all the operational and maintenance costs, which are pretty low for the filtration systems, they're like top of the line. The only thing you need to change is just the filters, which are extremely cheap. The local governments will be able to cover those operational and maintenance costs, which is wonderful. So basically, these projects will not only be able to, like I said, to cover the necessity right now, but it will remain in the area for years to come, because we're not sure how long and what exactly is affecting the quality of the groundwaters as of right now. This is just my short presentation, and I also wanted to say a huge thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak up to all of you guys, and extremely thankful for helping us help people here in the Kharkiv region. Thank you once again. Your support and your commitment has been outstanding. I'm speaking as for the whole United States and its citizens. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Vlas. And I see right now in the screen one of our partners. She connect right now. Her name is Yulia Yakovenko. Yulia Yakovenko, please wave us. She is from Kyiv. She is deputy chair on the board of the Blaga Nadia Foundation. She is volunteer from 2014. Her husband is fighting in front line right now, and she supports family in Donetsk region. Actually, she is working with orphans and with older people, and Helping Ukraine US support her project for old people in the Izum region, to transport them from the front line to the most safety places. Yulia, please show your face. I just
Я
so
тут, я тут, хіба ти не бачиш?
так. And let me introduce our Ukrainian American couple who is seated. They are not couple, but they are sitting at the same car. It's Corey Beato from USA, from Rocky Mountain Foundation, and he is sitting next Olga Sikirska. She is from Lviv, but now they are in Donetsk region. How we know Corey, Emery met Corey in Rotary Club a few months ago, and they became we became partners, and we support Corey with medical equipment. And of course, Corey introduced us to Olga, and Olga can explain a little more about our future projects as well. Corey, Olga, welcome.
Yeah, can everybody hear us?
Yes.
All right. My name is Corey Beato. I'm with Rocky Mountain Aid Foundation. We're actually in Kharkiv right now. We'll be in Donetsk later tonight. Hopefully make it to Kramatorsk. Our mission this time is we're delivering medical supplies and doing medical training all around that area right there. And part of that is doing blood transfusion trainings. I don't know if you guys can see this or not,
Yes.
but these are some of the donated blood bags we have. Basically giving paramedics and medics the capability to both receive blood from donors and to give that blood directly to a patient, which really increases the survivability of folks. And that's civilians and military, anyone that's in this area. As we all know, there's a lot of civilians still around this area. We started out at the very beginning of this thing, March 4th. We're veteran based. We took unconventional warfare and turned it into unconventional humanitarian aid. And that
Well,
Oops, Corey, we don't hear you right now. Are
well,
you here?
when he comes back, he can take back over. But Corey is a Green Beret who saw active service in several different hot places and created this organization to basically help in war zones. And they've been in a couple different hot spots. We've supported a couple different teams like this. One team actually was recommended to me by the Carter Center, and we sent them funding and have been maintaining good relationships with them. The goal is to get supplies to, you can't really call them hospitals because hospitals get blown up. They're operating in basements and anywhere they can find that's dry and reasonably warm, where they can stop somebody, whether they're a soldier or a civilian, from bleeding out. Okay. And so the goal is to get them treatment, get them a tourniquet or whatever transfusions they need, and then get them back to a hospital that might be 50 or 60 miles away from the war front. We've funded several different vehicles, both SUVs and ambulances to help with this process as well. They've got a pretty high attrition rate between the Russians and the elements. So we are working to help get folks that are being injured at the war front back to safety where they can be taken care of and recover.
Olga and Corey is here.
Right,
I hear.
we're back.
Yeah, sorry for the technical difficulties. No, that was well said with a lot of that, Emery. So yeah, we started this whole thing by bringing critical need, which is a lot of cases for us is medical and drugs, and we get it, circumvent the system and make sure it goes to the people it needs to get when it needs to get there. One of the projects that we're really proud of that we did with Mama and Oya, actually, her group really organized it all. But we were getting a lot of drugs, medications into Mariupol to the hospitals there that weren't receiving anything because the Russians obviously weren't supplying them. And this is blood pressure medications. This is medicines that people need day-to-day life to live. And so they organized kind of a clandestine line to get that into those hospitals. So we like to be pretty innovative. We're very mobile. We're a small group of people. We're all, like I said, Special Forces veterans. And I'll probably let Oya take the rest of the time. Because she's a local and she's here full time.
Yeah, okay, so I will start from medical side of our project. Also, we are doing medical trainings, as also Corey already mentioned, and it's not only for the military people. We also recently started working with civilians and training and doing medical trainings with them, because what people don't really realize that like even civilian cities that are farther from the front line, they are also getting shelled heavily, especially like Kharkiv, Odessa, and very often people are getting hurt and they just don't know first aid. They just don't know how to treat themselves. And that's why so many people die, and civilians including, just because they don't know what to do when they are getting hit. So that's our goal right now. We just really want to teach self-aid, first aid to not only to the medical personnel in the front line, not only to soldiers, but also to civilians who are living right now in Ukraine, because this is what will give them a chance to live. Also, where do you want to add anything about medical projects?
No, just that thanks with the donations, we're able to get a bunch of transfusion blood bags. So this is one of the things we teach. Is basically we do this in the US. Paramedic shows up, even if the hospital is only 30 minutes away. The earlier you get blood on someone increases their survivability for the first 24 hours and the first 30 days. So it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and what also it makes a huge difference because we are pretty much the first instructors in Ukraine who started teaching blood transfusion trainings, because it used to be forbidden in Ukraine. And right now we just want to show more of like NATO standards here in Ukraine and show people that here, this is what you can do to actually save lives. So this is from the medical point of view. Also, another project that you guys have seen probably on the presentation before. It's my project from my foundation in Kherson region. So there is a beautiful little town in Kherson region called Limanets. We've been supporting them since the occupation. So this town, as the whole Kherson region too, was occupied for almost 8 months. And after the occupation, they didn't have electricity, they didn't have running water. They had literally nothing because Russians, when they were running away to the other side of the river, they blown up everything. So right now they are recovering. It's getting better and better every time we're visiting them, which makes me really happy. But the sad part is kids, obviously, who are still there because they don't have a place where they can be together. They don't have the opportunity to continue their normal education just because the town is still getting shelled. The town is still under Russian attack every day. So that's why right now, to get like the government, Ukrainian government helped to rebuild the basement that they used to have in their school, but they only did like the floor and the walls, and it still needs a lot of supplies inside so the kids would be able to continue their education, so they would have a nice spot where they can be safe. Their parents don't have to worry that they will be hit by an artillery round or a rocket or drone or anything, because literally everything is flying above their heads. So this is a basement, and what we as Mamai Foundation want to do, we want to set them up with school supplies and stuff like tablets, computers, and everything that can just help these kids to feel normal, to continue their education, to have a place where they can just hang out together and spend some time together. Also, why it's important, because we have been also visiting a lot of villages closer to the frontline area, so closer to the river. And unfortunately, there are a lot of kids still out there, and their parents, they don't want to move a bit farther from the front line just because they think that farther it's as bad as it is where they live right now. So the goal is, if we will set up school facilities for them, those parents will see that, hey, okay, we can move a bit farther and it's more safe, and our kids will have better life, and they will have the ability to spend time with other kids. They will have something normal finally. So yeah, this is the goal. We want to, set up the facility for these kids so they would finally feel like they have kind of at least a little bit of normal life.
Thank you, Olga. Thank you, Corey. Thank you, everybody. Now you can see we have 6 people from Ukraine, and this is time for questions, and you can decide what person do you want to ask, and please feel free to ask every questions.
Would you like to show the video now before we go into
Yes.
the Q&A?
Yeah,
So
good
Brogan,
idea.
if you could
Yes.
share the video, this will give everyone a little bit of a recap of what you've heard.
Wonderful. Thank you. those kids were basically coming out of the war zone, and we set them up in the Carpathian Mountains.
Yeah, it was Marina project, and this last video was so nice when they used to give everybody hugs, and they're from different areas. Yeah, thank you, Amanda, for putting together all these pictures. Okay, we still have
one
time.
other thing that you saw the shots of the wood burning stoves. Ken Ward figured out how to get those stoves fabricated in the shipyards in Odessa. And the Odessa First People's Church were instrumental in that, but we were buying those for about $140 a piece with the pipes included. And then the Odessa First People's Church were installing them in all of the bombed houses along the warfront. One thing, the picture of the ambulances in the ship, we actually loaded, those were organized by John Daniel with Progenicare and donated, and then we handled the shipping from the port of Brunswick. We were actually loading those 2 ambulances in to the ship to be carried over to Europe, and those are in use now. Another shot there was a incubator. This is something I forgot to mention. The surgical drills that I showed are battery operated. They can be used
Yeah, he wants to
even
show
when
the
there's
video
no
with the
electricity in the
family.
hospital.
Well, but I'm saying, just
If
wait
there
till
is
he
a neonatal
gets the
unit,
pause here. He'll say he will go.
the neonatal nurses will need to carry the infant to the basement bomb shelter, and in the event of an air raid. So they need incubators that have battery backup. And the incubators we've been delivering for about $16,000 a piece have that battery backup where that nurse can pick up the baby in the incubator and take them straight down to the bomb shelter in the basement. And that is happening on a fairly regular basis. And I mean, we actually, I was in these places, and they just take it all in stride, but that was what the picture of the incubator was. This is something that didn't exist 2.5 years ago, and as it's been mentioned, we've sent over $5 million worth of supplies to mainly to the war front, to the people who need it the most. And our goal is to keep moving forward and helping you all in Ukraine any way we can. And that's our commitment, and we're going to keep working on this. Stay safe over there. Stay safe. Slava Ukraine.